You may have paid for your ticket, picked the perfect seat, and brought your latest headphones. But none of that gives you permission to do whatever you want on a plane. The truth. Some people are getting arrested for seemingly harmless behavior. And the scariest part is, they didn't even know they were doing it. Flying requires more than just being careful with your luggage. It requires careful behavior. There are behaviors that seem small but can get you into big trouble up there. And today, you're going to find out exactly what you should never do on board, before you learn the hard way. Some people get on a plane thinking they're in a slapstick comedy, opening the door in the middle of the flight, making jokes about terrorism. It sounds absurd, but it happens more often than you might think. And get this isn't just a lack of awareness, it's a lack of care for one's own life and the lives of others. A reckless attitude like this can turn a peaceful trip into chaos with sirens, handcuffs, and headlines in the newspapers. On board, every rule exists for a serious reason, even if it seems exaggerated at first glance. The crew isn't there to be ignored, they're professionals trained to ensure safety. Disobeying an instruction can cause everything from delays to emergency landings. Can you imagine being responsible for an entire plane returning to the airport because of a joke? Carelessness has a high price, and it can come in the form of jail time. It's not just about respecting authority, it's about collective respect. A passenger joking about something serious can trigger triggers in someone who's already afraid of flying. Carefulness also involves empathy. It's about understanding that your freedom on a plane has a limit, the well-being of everyone around you. Have you ever heard of people being kicked off a flight before it even takes off? Well, there is. The line between freedom and irresponsibility is thin in the air. If someone wants to play dangerously, they should go play paintball. Airplanes are not the place for bravado or small shows. And you know what's even crazier? Many people do this thinking that it won't lead to anything. It does, and a lot. There are even cases where the FBI has been called in due to suspicious behavior. Now, if people were as careful as they are when sending an email to their boss, everything would be much calmer. And look, the next problem could come from something even more basic: clothes. Many people think that, because they have paid for their ticket, they can board however they want. But that's not always the case. Some airlines have dress codes, and if you make a mistake with your appearance, you may end up being denied boarding at the gate. A bodybuilder was denied boarding for wearing shorts that were too short. This is not a whim. It's a matter of taking care of the environment and the image you project. An airplane is not an extension of your living room. Of course, comfort is essential, but there needs to be a balance. You can wear light pants, a cotton t-shirt, or even a stylish sweatshirt without going overboard. It's not about judging anyone's body, but rather about following the rules that exist, whether you like it or not. If the goal is to avoid embarrassment, the key word is still just one: caution. Now, think about it. If someone boards wearing offensive clothing or provocative phrases, this could cause conflict right there, in the middle of the flight. Can you imagine an ideological debate at 10,000 meters over a print? Nobody wants that. So it's worth asking yourself before you leave the house, does this outfit convey respect? And this isn't about moralism, it's about responsibility. And here's the funny thing. There are people who get all dressed up for a job interview, but then take an international flight in flip-flops, a tank top and pajamas. It's not about glamour, it's about perception. Clothes also say a lot, and sometimes they say it loudly. So, even though the temptation to travel as if you were going to the beach is great, it's better to use a little common sense. After all, care starts with what you wear, and extends to what you do with a simple cell phone. That WhatsApp notification can wait. But even so, there are people who insist on leaving their cell phones out of airplane mode, as if nothing were going to happen. Oh, planes have never crashed because of that, some say. But this logic is dangerous. Just because the risk is rare doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and you can never be too careful, especially when you're floating miles above the ground. Interference in cockpit instruments may seem like something out of a movie, but it's a real possibility. Imagine the pilot trying to communicate with the tower and receiving noise or interference due to active signals from passengers. It may not cause a direct accident, but compromising navigation is enough to generate tension on board. Caution here doesn't mean panic, it's prevention. Want to use your cell phone during the flight? Yes, use it, but do it wisely. Listen to downloaded music, read that book you've been putting off reading, play something light, all in airplane mode. Golden tip: apps like Kindle, Pocket, and Spotify, with offline playlists, are perfect for this moment. Avoid the anxiety of always being online. Sometimes, digital breaks are also a way to take care of your mind. A plane is a place where small distractions can turn into big problems. That's why turning off the signal is a small but powerful gesture. After all, safety doesn't just depend on the crew, it depends on everyone. And just when we think we've seen everything on board, someone shows up and decides to be the DJ of the chaos, invading the plane's sound system. Imagine being in the middle of a flight, about to take a well-deserved nap, and suddenly a bizarre voice or strange sound starts playing over the speakers. This isn't a scene from a TV series, it really happened. A passenger managed to hack into an airplane sound system and sent everyone into a panic. A simple moment of grace turned into an uncomfortable experience for everyone. Lack of care. Definitely. The truth is that the airplane sound system is a critical tool, used for emergency communication and crew instructions. When someone interferes with it, it's not only extremely disrespectful, it's also putting safety at risk. There's no fun in that. Have you ever thought about severe turbulence and the crew can't guide the passengers because someone decided to play a sound prank? It's the kind of behavior that reveals a total lack of collective care. If you want to stand out, there are much better ways than that. How about telling inspiring stories to the passenger next to you? Or listen to an interesting podcast, such as Café Brazil or PrimoCast, on your own headphones? Using creativity to entertain yourself doesn't have to be over the top. Hacking systems doesn't show intelligence, it shows irresponsibility. And believe me, this can lead to lawsuits and bans from flying with other airlines. This type of action shows how much some people still don't understand that flying is a privilege that requires posture. The cabin is a shared space, where every gesture matters. Care for the collective is evident in the details. And if you think this type of invasion is the height of lack of common sense, wait until you find out what some people leave behind on airplane seats. Have you ever stopped to think about what might be hidden in that pocket in the seat in front of you? Well, it's not just old magazines. Flight attendants report finding everything there, from underwear to used diapers. It gives you the creeps just thinking about it, doesn't it? This shows how little care there is for this space that belongs to everyone. An airplane is not a hotel room with an exclusive maid. It's a communal space and needs to be respected. Some people treat the plane like a private trash can. They leave bottles of urine on the floor, spill food, and even blame the crew for the mess. It's as if, when boarding, they leave their common sense on the X-ray conveyor belt. Maintaining hygiene is a basic act of civility. Taking a bag to dispose of trash, using hand sanitizer, and respecting common spaces are small precautions that make a difference. And be careful where you put your things. Did you know? Some people put their sandwiches in the seat pocket, as if it were a small plate. Or they put their toothbrushes on the food tray, forgetting that it is rarely cleaned thoroughly. The ideal: bring a toiletry bag with disinfectant wipes and avoid direct contact with surfaces. A little prevention will save you many visits to the doctor after your trip. The plane is a place of transit, but what we leave there can leave a mark, for better or worse. Hygiene is not just about aesthetics, it is about respect. And at the end of the day, the way we take care of our spaces says a lot about how we take care of others. Now that you know this, you may be wondering, if there are rules even for the trash, do we also have rules about what I can and cannot do during the entire trip? Well, now comes the part that will tie it all together. Now that you know what you can't do on a plane, tell me, how many of these things have you seen, or even done without realizing it? It's crazy how simple things, through carelessness, can have such serious consequences. But the good news is that you're already a few steps ahead of most people, just by seeking this knowledge. So, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to be the person who helps keep the atmosphere light and safe on board? Or are you going to continue thinking that it's just a joke? It never hurts to be careful, and small actions say a lot about who we are, even at 10,000 meters above sea level. So, what else do you think people do on planes that no one talks about? Comment below, share your experience or question, because this exchange is what makes it all worth it. And of course, if this content made you think, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. There's much more to come, and believe me, you won't want to miss the next flight on this journey.